This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tonight's supply crunch. A Pictou County food bank is cutting back as demand rises.
Shelter debate. Clients in Sydney push to keep services downtown despite comments from CBRM mayoral candidates.
And race and politics. Black municipal candidates highlight ongoing barriers.
Scattered showers this evening, clearing overnight. A chilly start to Thursday, but temperatures on the rise over the next few days. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. A food bank in New Glasgow has announced 2 new policies to cope with rising demand.
The Pictou County Food Bank is being forced to make stricter rules about what food it can give and how often. Angela McIver has our top story tonight.
As people wait patiently outside the Pictou County Food Bank East, volunteers work furiously to prepare their orders. Some clients are regulars, while others, like Nathan Mann, come occasionally.
I work 3 jobs. I work in IT, I work part-time at a pizza restaurant, and I also teach music lessons part-time too. And I still struggle working 3 jobs. You know, it's super tough.
Demand at the New Glasgow Food Bank has jumped more than 30% in the last 4 years. For that reason, coupled with the rising cost of food, the food bank is also no longer buying certain items.
And so now what we give are what we call like table essentials, the essential things that people need. We're not buying juice anymore. We're not buying like canned turkey, ham. We do buy canned tuna, but not the other canned meats.
Those items used to be included in a standard food box. Now they will only be given if they're donated and happen to be available.
If there are some items that I can't get, it's still okay. I'll still take my money and get them at the store. So with this is not just few. This is a lot to me, and I appreciate that.
Another change now being enforced at the food bank, clients can only come once a month.
If you had been in the first of the month and it was coming towards the end of the month, but you were really stuck, and especially if you had children, we would do a second order that month. But we can't solve everybody's problems, so it just has to be strictly once a month.
For people who rely on these food boxes, the new policies are harder to accept.
The food bank does help, but they do not give enough to go month to month.
Staff say food packages are only meant to last 2 to 4 days, and with donations going down as the price of food continues to climb, they say they're doing what they can. Angela McIver, CBC News, New Glasgow.
The Nova Scotia government announced plans today for a retirement fund it hopes will help attract and retain doctors. Under the terms of the plan, doctors will receive a matching payment each year based on their own contributions to the retirement plan of their choice. Doctors working full-time with 5 or fewer years of service will get $5,000 annually with no requirement to contribute. Doctors with 5 to 15 years of service are eligible for up to $10,000 a year. Doctors with more than 15 years in the system can get up to $15,000 per year. Premier Tim Houston says the idea was inspired by a similar program in BC and is intended as another way to recognize doctors for their service to the province.
This is something that we can layer on to the overall compensation package, and it sends a message that we want you here, and we understand that you're just like everyone else, planning for your retirement and probably have a little bit of worry about your retirement, and we're acknowledging that.
The plan was part of the Tories' 2021 election platform, and the commitment was also included in the most recent master agreement with the government that it signed with doctors.
The head of Doctors Nova Scotia says this retirement fund will help with recruitment.
When the physician would like to come and work in any place like Nova Scotia, one of the questions is what benefit I will have in Nova Scotia, what is attractive in Nova Scotia to me as a physician to come and stay. And obviously this will be one of them, that in Nova Scotia we have a pension retirement plan now, and that's good.
Provincial officials point out the program will not be retroactive. All right, Ryan Snoddon here now to talk weather.
Yeah, a bit nippy out there.
Yeah, definitely. And a real brisk wind, which just really makes it feel like we're creeping into mid to late fall, which we are. But yeah, it's definitely a bit of a temporary bump in the road here because we are rebounding quite nicely late week and into the weekend. We'll talk about that. First, yeah, we're going to deal with this trough, which is bringing, yes, the breezy, gusty winds and those showers. Those are clearing out by the time we get to the overnight. Tomorrow morning, a very chilly start. The coolest widespread start we've had so far this season with temperatures in that 0 to +5 range. Then as we move our way into Thursday afternoon, temperatures recovering nicely with lots of sunshine. This low trying to work its way in, maybe some high cloud cover tomorrow, but that is about it. Temperatures, yeah, not too bad, not too shabby for this time of year. 11, 12 degrees with a west to northwest flow. Now, as we move into the long range forecast, again, that low continuing to try to move its way north, but this area of high pressure sliding out of the Great Lakes, moving into the Maritimes, is going to drive that low back to the south. And so, yeah, it was still a bit of a northerly component around this high for Friday. But as the high really sets up, we're going to see the winds becoming light, then shifting to southwest through the weekend. Temperatures sailing up quite nicely. We'll talk about it with your full 7-day forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, sounds
Something
good.
to look forward to. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you.
Several people running to be the next mayor of Cape Breton Regional Municipality are pushing to move some shelter facilities out of the downtown core. Some of the candidates say a drug reduction center and a homeless shelter should not be located in downtown Sydney. But the people who rely on those facilities want to make sure they stay put. Aaron Potty reports.
People can often be seen hanging around outside the Ally Centre in Sydney. The non-profit organization offers drug testing, a needle exchange, and an emergency shelter.
If I wasn't here, buddy, I'd be sleeping in a doorway somewhere or in the bank, you know? Yeah, I have nowhere to go.
Some people need to be like, this place is a good place, and some people just look at us like needle bangers and stuff. Some of us are real good people.
Many clients of the Ally Centre say services for vulnerable populations in Sydney are where they should be.
That's where everything's at. Like, I mean, you're close to stuff. You're close to Sobeys. You're close to essential services. You know, you're fairly close to the provincial building, you know, the welfare office. Yep. And, you know, it just makes sense, right?
Last week, during a CBRM mayoral debate, some candidates proposed moving the Ally Centre and a homeless shelter out of Sydney's downtown core, including former CBRM Mayor Cecil Clark.
People are feeling unsafe downtown Sydney. Seniors, Club 55, damages and concerned. Youth are scared. Newcomers. The things I've heard said on the streets. First medical cause. Cruise passengers are concerned. Go to the Hat and see what's happening with families. We have a problem.
Others who use the Ally Centre say it does far more good than harm.
This place is real, save more lives than cops, that's all I can say. Because if it wasn't for this place, a lot of people be dead and they'd be frozen on the street.
Officials with the Sydney Homeless Shelter and the Ally Centre both declined an interview. In a press release, the Ally Centre board says they're not planning to move, as it would not solve any underlying social challenges facing the community. Instead, they're forming a new committee to look at some of the problems that downtown Sydney is facing. They're also inviting all CBRM candidates to visit, where they can get a better understanding of the work they do. Results from the CBRM's mayoral race are expected Saturday evening. Aaron Potty, CBC News, Sydney.
The federal government is investing $2.3 million for new buses and the implementation of a smart card system in Cape Breton. The announcement was made this afternoon by MP Jaime Batiste. It's being paid for through the Rural Transit Solutions Fund. Transit Cape Breton will buy 2 new buses, 2 hybrid accessible minibuses, and build 5 new bus shelters with the money. The project will also include a new smart card payment system that the municipality says will make paying fares faster and easier for users.
2 are welcomed, 200 would be welcomed as well. you know, it's a great problem to have when you're dealing with growth. If you were talking about transit in 2013, it was literally on the chopping block to be nixed from the municipal budget, and here we are continuing to invest in our transit system.
I think everything we do in our government is making sure that the economy of the future is meeting what we need for our environmental needs. We always say if there's no plan for the environment, we don't have a plan for the economy. And so this is all part of the new future that we have to work towards, which is sustainable, resilient infrastructure.
McDougall says the new buses are ordered and hope to have them on the road by 2025.
People in the Yarmouth area are celebrating the news that the CAT high-speed ferry will be making the crossing to Maine for at least another year. The government announced the extension of the subsidy during a news conference yesterday. They also released the interim findings of an economic impact assessment that showed the ferry is good value for money. One inn owner in Yarmouth says a stable ferry contract is good for the hospitality industry.
The overall impact has been good. Also, Yarmouth has a shortage right now for hotel rooms. We started when we got here 25 years ago, there were 1,400 rooms, and we're down to less than 300 right now. So part of the confidence building is, you know, again, the ferry's having a commitment that the ferry will run and encouraging people to open more rooms and hotels and those kinds of services which are essential.
Tavares says ferry passengers support other businesses in the area, so their presence has a ripple effect.
The Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League says its ban on fighting has been good for business. The league, which includes the Halifax Mooseheads and Cape Breton Eagles, brought in the new rules last season. Players who fight are automatically ejected from the game. The league's commissioner says with the fighting ban in place, attendance has increased.
It tells me that people come to see hockey. That's all. And if they have a good game, they don't expect necessarily a fight. I'm talking in majority. Some do. But they haven't stopped them to come to the arena, or maybe we've attracted more family because there's less fighting.
The commissioner says fights are still happening, but they are rare now. So far this season, there have been 85 games and just 2 fights. He says the fighting ban is here to stay. Several Black candidates are running in municipal elections in Nova Scotia, looking to represent areas that include some of the province's historical Black communities.
As Josh Hoffman tells us, there are still barriers for people of color trying to get involved in politics, including racism.
So it made me feel disheartening, it made me feel sad.
Virginia Hinch is talking about an email she recently received from a voter. It wasn't the first email sent to her by this person, but she wanted to share this one to show what candidates who look like her have to go through. The email starts with the person asking, do you think voters are stupid enough to elect another Black candidate for council? We learned from our mistakes the first time by having that tool, Lindell Smith, catering to the BIPOC community. Lindell Smith is the incumbent councillor in a district Hinch is running to represent. That district includes the area of Africville, a historical Black community where residents were pushed out by the city in the 1960s before their homes were destroyed. The email goes on to say that neither Hinch or her family members were slaves, so she should stop playing the victim card and blaming others.
He has no clue who I am. The only thing that he does know is that I'm Black. He doesn't know my character. He doesn't know what I stand for.
Hinch is trying to become just the second Black woman and 4th non-white person on HRM Council since amalgamation in 1996. John Young is also looking to represent a district that includes historical Black communities in the Halifax region. He thinks another reason Black people don't get involved in politics is a lack of trust in government.
Lack of trust in the system, lack of trust in how things always have been done in communities, in particular historically Black communities. Like I mentioned before, afterthoughts in late decision planning on the HRM.
Young says that's why it's important to have people in those communities represented in spaces where decisions are made. According to one historian, Nova Scotia doesn't have a great track record when it comes to this.
It's been this abysmal. It's always been a sign of the historic disenfranchisement and attempt to socially marginalize the communities.
Saney says it's a good thing more Black people are participating in local politics, and Young and Hinch say they hope to inspire others who look like them to get involved in their communities. Josh Hoffman, CBC News, Halifax.
still kind of light out there this time of day, which is good.
The day's getting a little shorter, there's no doubt about it, but this time of night, it's not too bad for all.
Yeah, well, Ryan will be up next with the full weather forecast. We will see you in just a few minutes.
Yeah, the evening's getting, or day's getting a little shorter, the leaves changing color, the temperature's dipping a little bit.
Yeah, but you've been looking at another place where the temperatures are just going in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I mean, it has been an extreme, like off the charts warm past 3 weeks in Phoenix, Arizona. And that's a place I know a lot of snowbirds end up going once it cools down a little bit. And typically it has started to cool by this time. But have a look at the last. This is courtesy of ABC 15 in Phoenix. And so this is, again, in Fahrenheit, but the temperatures from September the 24th up until Monday of this week, 21 straight days where the temperature set a new record high. 21 straight days.
Unreal.
And those temperatures are all over 40 degrees Celsius and as warm as 47 on that Saturday, in the last Saturday in September there. It appears to be the first record of this length in the world.
Wow.
We've seen stretches where there's been 2 weeks of record-setting temps in a row, but never 3. Absolutely incredible. And again, that record obviously has now come to an end. And as we look at those temperatures in Phoenix, it is a cool 36 right now. But yeah, just 6 degrees here in Halifax. Temperatures into the 20 to 28 range in through the Florida area right now. And you can see it's temps right around 23 degrees in Regina. So that little dome of heat you can see starting to push its way up into southern parts of Canada. That is what we're going to tap into here by the time we get to the weekend and into early next week. Let's look at the temperature outlook right now. And yeah, it is single digits pretty much across the board. Canso holding on there in Guysborough County into the double digits. The northwest winds have really been pronounced today. Sustained right now in the 20, 30, even 50 at Westport, 35 at Yarmouth, and 40 in Grand Etang. Some gusts upwards of 40, 50, even 69 at Westport. So pretty gusty there on Digby Neck right now. As we look at this trough, this is the cool pocket of air aloft that's been moving through, keeping things quite unsettled with these showers that are going to continue to move through this evening into the early overnight. And then that trough is going to move out. And we're going to open the door and allow this area of high pressure over the Great Lakes to move up and into the region. And that will help to keep this low off to the south. It, again, won't be able to burst its way in. Temperatures tonight across Cape Breton Island will be around 5 to 8 degrees. The mainland is for the most part going to be between 0 and 5. So a very cool night and a cool start to Thursday with that northwest wind easing through the overnight, still gusting 40 to 50 kilometers per hour for a good portion of the night. Note those showers departing by 11 o'clock, starting to see the eastern mainland clearing by midnight. Cape Breton is the one exception that we may see a few showers tomorrow morning, especially in through the Cheticamp area, Inverness County. But that is done by lunchtime. And then, some high cloud cover starting to fan its way in across southern parts of the province tomorrow. That's about it. In terms of the clouds, it's going to be just a terrific day. Temperatures 10 to 12 degrees across Cape Breton tomorrow with those west to northwest winds, 20 gusting 30 to 40. Across the mainland, we're going to be seeing temperatures, similar story in those low double digits. A whole lot of sunshine on tap. Parsboro near 10. Most of the province near 11 to 12 degrees for tomorrow in central areas. And we may squeak up towards 13 in places like Liverpool tomorrow. Friday, temperatures 12 to 14 for most, but a bit of a northeast flow. And so, may see Yarmouth and down towards the Shelburne area squeak up a little bit warmer than that. That low starting to, again, work its way in and then back south it goes as that high really reaches in and furthers the cause for sunshine as we can see into the Saturday time period. Those winds starting to shift to southwest. That's when we're really going to start to pop temperature-wise. 16, 17, 18 degrees possible Sunday, Monday into Tuesday. Could see a 20-degree temperature. Just an incredible run here shaping up. And a quick outlook on the tropics, because again, we're still in hurricane season. This now a slightly lower chance of development over the next 7 days, a 40% risk. Still looking like it's really no threat at all here to the Maritimes. So that's some good news there, Tom and Amy.
Sure is.
Like the sounds of that.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Ryan.
Coming up, I'll speak with Doctors Nova Scotia about the province's plan to launch a doctor retirement bonus to boost recruitment and retention. The Houston government is creating a retirement benefits program topped up by taxpayers for Nova Scotia's roughly 3,000 doctors. The hope is the program will keep physicians working in the province as competition for healthcare workers remains high. Dr. Gihad Gobran is president of Doctors Nova Scotia. Sir, how do you feel about this retirement plan for physicians?
I think that's a great thing to be done. It was we was hoping to have this retirement pension happening. We didn't know whether it's going to happen really or not, but we are so grateful that it come to reality.
I gather doctors in this province have been asking for something like this. The only other plan, we were told today, that's similar to this in this country is in British Columbia. Were Nova Scotia doctors leaving because of a lack of a program like this?
For too many different reasons. It's not only one reason, but definitely having this program will attract them to stay, because that's something it's not available everywhere. It's not in every province. As you said, British Columbia is ahead of us, have similar program, but that's a great program to have here in Nova Scotia.
Is there any research or any evidence that it will, in fact, keep doctors here?
I think the research will come. I mean, once the program starts and we start to, people and the physicians start to know what is this program, what is the benefit of it, there will be study and there will be evidence coming, but it takes time though.
Part of the, I guess, the attraction of this is that there's a hope that it will help with recruitment. How will it help with recruitment?
When the physician would like to come and work in any place like Nova Scotia, one of the questions is what benefit I will have in Nova Scotia, what is attractive in Nova Scotia to me as a physician to come and stay. And obviously this will be one of them, that in Nova Scotia we have a pension retirement plan now, and that's good.
We have heard from doctors, particularly family physicians, in the past where they feel and they question how valued they really are in this healthcare system. How does this kind of a retirement plan or a fund help in regards to that?
We feel more appreciated, more valued, and we are really happy to see this happening. And that's a promise which really came in reality, you know.
It's not retroactive, so how many doctors will this help?
According to what I heard today, it's about 3,000 physicians.
So what about the doctors who are, 25 years into career service in Nova Scotia? I gather a retirement fund like this will do less to help them than it might a young doctor just entering the system. Is that fair to say?
Yes, but at least we have something in place now and something for the future. And we still, like I am one of these physicians you're talking about, and it still helps, still appreciate.
Mm-hmm. We heard today that a general physician in Nova Scotia is making between $350,000 and $390,000 a year. How much help from taxpayers does someone making an average of $350,000 in a year need, do you think? Particularly when a general physician, for example, with their careers and trying to establish themselves in this province?
Okay, there is many factors here, because if we talk about the resident who graduated from anywhere in Canada, like to come here, they have tons of money on their tuition fee line of credit. They have to pay it off. The movement itself and settlement, it takes a bunch of money. And put in consideration also that we are not an employee, we are self-employee. So we have to pay like between 35 to 40% of what we earn as an overhead between offices, between receptionists, between supplies, medical supplies or other supplies. And that's also, we have to pay taxes in addition of that like anyone else. So it is really too many things on burden on the physicians. And having something like that, like I'll tell you, in my first 10 years, I didn't put any a single dollar for retirement. I cannot, I couldn't. But having that and having $5,000 unmatched in the first 5 years, that's really good.
All right, Dr. Gobran, really appreciate you putting this in context for us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for.
Well, there are white hearts popping up around PEI.
As Connor Lamont tells us, it's to raise awareness for mental health and suicide prevention.
There are hundreds of pebbles in this white heart, each one carefully placed. Corey Good has one just like it at her home. It's in memory of her sister, who died by suicide.
I wanted to do something in honor of her, and I reached out on Facebook and asked what was a good idea, and people directed me towards Operation White Heart, which is based out of New Brunswick, and I figured why not start it here and help bring the awareness here as well.
Good started the Operation White Heart Facebook page on PEI. The movement suggests putting a white heart on your lawn to remind people struggling with mental health that you're not alone. She says more and more people are talking to her about creating their own hearts.
Just knowing that there's people out there who want to put the white hearts on their lawns has been amazing, and it just feels really good that everybody wants to help fight the stigma here on the island.
Jody Wortman has also lost someone to suicide. He created 2 white hearts to keep the conversation going about mental health.
I think once someone who is struggling sees someone open up and start talking about it, then it gets them on that same path. And that's what Operation White Heart is all about.
Wortman says he'd love to see more businesses, schools, and communities build white hearts. There are almost 700 across the country and 6 on PEI. The founder of the movement hopes it will grow on the island.
In the spring, you're going to see this break right open over there, because I know they're going to put the heart into it.
Brown has created videos on how to make your own heart.
I try to encourage people to do it themselves. You know, if we get one heart at a time, one heart a day from somebody, anybody, you know, sporadically, it'll grow fast.
Brown says the hearts can be big or small, whatever feels right to the people making them. He wants to come to PEI soon to help build more hearts. Connor Lamont, CBC News, Slemon Park.
Coming up, Justin Trudeau testifies before the public inquiry into foreign interference.
And a drink company tastes controversy after actor Simu Liu raises cultural appropriation questions. Welcome back. The Prime Minister delivered explosive testimony today at the public inquiry into foreign interference.
Justin Trudeau said he'd been given the names of conservatives in this country who are somehow involved in foreign interference. The CBC's Ashley Burke has more on the comment and the reaction.
A high-profile public appearance that turned highly political.
I'm getting a little more partisan than I've tried to in this case, but it is so egregious to me.
The Prime Minister delivering explosive testimony at the public inquiry into foreign interference, leveling serious allegations against the Conservative Party.
I have the names of a number of parliamentarians, former parliamentarians and/or candidates in the Conservative Party of Canada who are engaged or at high risk of, or for whom there is clear intelligence around foreign interference.
Trudeau said he directed CSIS to warn the Conservatives leader about it so he could protect his party and members, but said Pierre Poilievre chose not to get his security clearance, so he can't be briefed on classified intelligence. The Conservatives' lawyer fired back.
Are you aware of the names of any Liberal parliamentarians, former parliamentarians or candidates that are at risk of being compromised by FI?
Yes, and for other parties as well, because I have access to large amounts of information.
In a statement, Poilievre said he doesn't want to take part in briefings where he's sworn to secrecy. He said he recently took part in an unclassified briefing, and his Chief of Staff, Ian Todd, has taken part in classified ones. And at no time have they been told of any current or former Conservative parliamentarian or candidate knowingly participating in foreign interference.
None of these briefings has the name of any Conservative parliamentarian or candidate, past or present, been brought to the attention of Mr. Todd. Why is that?
You'd have to ask CSIS for that, but my supposition is that Mr. Todd is not the one who is responsible for determining what candidates can run or not for the Conservative Party of Canada.
Poilievre is now calling on the Prime Minister to publicly release the list of names and is accusing Trudeau of trying to distract from members of his own caucus, saying that it's time for him to go. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
There is growing international pressure on Israel to address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Several countries are calling for a UN Security Council meeting to discuss the situation. The U.S. has told Israel it has 30 days to improve access to aid and medical supplies or face potential restrictions on weapons shipments. At the same time, Israel is intensifying its fight against Hezbollah in Lebanon. The IDF continues to call for evacuations as it targets the capital and other southern towns. Crystal Gumansing has the latest.
Israeli Air Force pilots unleashed a series of bombardments across Lebanon. In the southern community of Nabatea, a series of locations were hit. Israel Defense Forces say dozens of targets of Hezbollah were struck, including deep underground tunnels. The Lebanese Health Ministry says that the municipal building in that community was struck during what it says was a coordination meeting for relief efforts. 6 people at least have been killed, including the mayor of that community. The UN Special Coordinator for Lebanon said that she is seeing unprecedented levels of civilian harm across Lebanon, in particular this one location in the south. Now, we know that U.S. officials have expressed concern about Israeli operations across Lebanon. They've also expressed concerns about what is going on in terms of aid getting in to Gaza. And after a letter was written on Sunday to Israeli officials, today, for the first time really in weeks, we saw more aid crossing over to Gaza. Israel's agency that deals with aid heading into Gaza, called COGAT, has reported that yesterday, more than 140 trucks moved across the border, saying 32 of those were picked up by international aid groups. At the same time, aid groups are expressing concern, saying they are seeing a lot of challenges when it comes to distributing food to those in need across Gaza. American officials say they hope that these changes will be long-term. Crystal Gumansing, CBC News, Jerusalem.
It's been more than 2.5 years since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Now, CBC News is getting a rare frontline view of the war, and it's coming from a point of view you don't usually see or hear. A Canadian who volunteered to fight and was left fighting for his life. He goes by the name Shadow, and he shares the extraordinary details in an exclusive conversation with the CBC's David Common.
In the brutality of this war, the clock of fate ticks for soldiers closest to the front lines.
No, Shadow!
Many are hit, and recently it was a Canadian.
I am still alive, so that's a plus.
Seriously injured in the battlefields of Donbass, seen to some of the worst fighting, Shadow was once a soldier for Canada before arriving in Ukraine from Quebec more than 2 years ago.
You got to tell me what happened.
The goal was to go into a forest full of Russians and then defend our position when the Russians try to assault.
Minutes later, his group, which included other foreign fighters, came under mortar attack from those Russians. The explosions left Shadow bleeding out fast.
My friend put one tourniquet on me, and then after that, the bleeding keep going, so he put 2 tourniquets. I remember I wanted to sleep, just like a little nap, and they were like, hey, yo, stay with us, stay with us.
And yet, with the mortars falling, Shadow could not move for more than an hour, nor could a medic get to him with morphine to ease the intense pain.
We need to prepare him for evacuation.
This video was recorded by the unit commander.
I know this is difficult, my friend. You need to sit.
Like Shadow, everyone's identity is hidden over concerns about how images might be used should they ever be captured. Shadow was raced to the hospital, even as his Western-donated armored vehicle was repeatedly fired on by the Russians.
It was expected on my part to get either wounded or killed. Luckily, I have only been wounded.
Shadow now has months of rehab ahead of him. He hopes to return to the battlefield, but it is not clear if that will ever again be possible. David Common, CBC News, Toronto.
Canada has a goal of reaching almost 500,000 new permanent residents by the end of 2024. But settlement agencies say they're watching more newcomers leave the country for places with more opportunity. Lisa Shing has more on this trend.
2 years ago, the Fomina family came to Canada as refugees from Ukraine, but they didn't stay long.
We had no credit card history, and we didn't have a job.
Olena Fomina and her husband are dentists, but couldn't work in their specialization without paying for school.
I started to work like a dental assistant, and my husband started to work like a carpenter in factory.
Starting over was made more difficult by barely being able to make ends meet.
It's not like that we couldn't pay for rent. It just, while paying for rent, we couldn't pay for anything else.
So they decided to move again to Poland. Their experience and decision seems to be a trend.
I'm just leaving to India.
Forever?
Yep.
The number one reason is that the living cost is getting unbearable.
Rent is so expensive, you're barely gonna afford anything.
In fact, a recent poll by the Angus Reid Institute found 39% of newcomers who have lived here for less than a decade are seriously considering leaving their province or the country entirely.
I've been in Canada for 36 years. I've never seen this.
Those who work directly with immigrants say the struggle to survive means the stress spills over to other aspects of one's life.
When you are stressed, the family violence, and then, these kind of things comes from lack of necessity.
The federal government tells CBC News it's making sure newcomers, including refugees, are able to contribute to the Canadian economy through training and employment and community services. But many settlement agencies say it's not working.
Where we need to really veer to is actually creating an opportunity economy. Opportunities where individuals are able to use their skills into finding meaningful employment.
A country once the immigrant's dream. Now a stopover on the way to destinations that seem to offer more. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
A product featured on a recent Dragon's Den is creating quite a stir after actor and investor Simu Liu's criticism of it went viral. And the Quebec bubble tea company apologized. Anis Hedauri breaks down the controversy and online uproar.
A Canadian take on bubble tea is brewing controversy. Quebec-based Boba recently pitched itself on CBC's Dragon's Den.
That trendy sugary drink you are queued up for and you are never quite sure about its content.
Those days are over with Boba.
Hang on. I'm quite sure about its content, but continue.
The entrepreneurs pitching their version as healthier and less ethnic, but actor and potential investor Simu Liu wasn't keen.
Why? There can be new takes on things.
Sure, but I'm looking at
everything
I'm
has
looking
to
at
be
these
traditional.
two guys. No, but then there's also an issue of cultural appropriation. There's an issue of taking something that's very distinctly Asian in its identity and quote unquote making it better, which I have an issue with.
You are never quite sure about its content.
Now many are criticizing the company for selling a Taiwanese beverage.
This person from the business was like, oh, people are usually not sure about the content. Like, what is there not to be sure about?
Don't say that it's not an ethnic drink, because it is and it always will be.
Major chains have offered similar products with less controversy. For example, Starbucks marketed Asian origins with its recent tea.
Are we honoring the place of where it comes from?
This food writer says framing bubble tea as unfamiliar is off base.
It's not new. And without dating myself necessarily, I remember there being so many bubble tea shops in Vancouver in the 90s.
The company didn't respond to CBC News inquiries, but on Instagram, it said it was sorry and will reevaluate branding, packages, and marketing strategies.
I think they're going to need to make some big changes to their brand and how they tell their brand story in order for that to happen. I don't think they can continue as is.
Maybe, but for a company already sold in big retailers like Costco and Sobeys, it may be hoping this controversy has already bubbled over. Anis Hedauri, CBC News, Calgary.
New film is out about Donald Trump. It's called The Apprentice. But despite his political prominence, the film doesn't include much politics, and critics worry that's becoming a big screen trend. Magda Gabrisalasa reports.
Well, then maybe I'll run for president. I don't know.
Donald Trump is a polarizing political figure today, but the movie The Apprentice bypasses that, zooming in on his early days as a real estate businessman in New York. At its American premiere, its director made it clear.
This is not a political hit piece.
And yet the film may be an example of how studios are cooling on films that could get political. After a successful showing at the Cannes Film Festival this year, a main financier backed out. Donald Trump threatened legal action, and major studios and streamers were silent. But then Briarcliff Entertainment stepped up, and a crowdfunding campaign kicked in.
If you have companies, in this case, the big corporate distribution system that is willing to let that sort of culture of fear and intimidation govern their choices, then that's a particular kind of world to live in.
At the Toronto International Film Festival this year, we saw how public pressure can play out too. TVO pulled its support of the controversial documentary Russians at War after a backlash. And critics say films are keeping it safe with plot lines too. The disaster film, Twisters, a box office hit, was criticized for avoiding talk about climate change. And Civil War, that looked like it would dig into real-world politics, strayed from taking a stance.
To take a stand threatens to alienate half your audience.
Ty Burr, a movie critic, says for the studios, there's always pressure not to be overtly political.
It's perceived that it will hurt it financially, it'll hurt it in the market.
Still, if studios take the risk, there's an audience for these films, says this content creator.
Especially in the age of social media where everything is so, everyone's so vocal about their own views and beliefs.
Magda Gabrisalasa, CBC News, Toronto.
Canada's main stock index gained more than 100 points today, led by the strength of utilities and base metals, while U.S. markets also rose. Here's a look at how things ended as we head to break. still trying to digest the Arizona temps he was talking about earlier. 117 degrees.
That's unfit.
Yeah, this time of year. I mean, it should be cooling down in Phoenix, but as warm as 47 there just a couple of weeks ago, and 21 straight days over 40 Celsius, a new record each day for every one of those 21 days. Just incredible.
You can't complain about sweater weather.
No, that's for sure.
Definitely not. Let's have a look at our viewer picture of the day, and this one, fall colors. Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of those come into to Ryan's inbox. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. This one from Thompson Station, and this stretch.
Very nice.
That is vibrant, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And Wayne Redmond said he was cruising through this area, and he said the amount of fields that look like this out there, there's tons of them, and it's kind of an untapped area for people heading up there just to tour around and take pictures. And
keep taking pictures, Wayne. That's
I
awesome.
know, and the contrast with the sky and the puffy clouds, really nice.
Incredible. Thanks to Wayne for sharing. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Tomorrow, looking at a beautiful day. We're looking at mostly sunny skies, northwest winds, 10 to 20. A little stronger wind in Cape Breton with those westerly to northwest winds near 20 and some gusts to 30 and 40. We will be seeing a few showers early in Cape Breton, then clearing. Friday, the wind a little more northeasterly, and so temps a bit cooler in the northeast, but warming up in through the south, 14, 15 degrees. And then those temps continuing to rise Saturday, Sunday, into early next week, high teens, low 20s, looking really nice. So when will the shoe drop? Eventually. And
no mention of frost in the forecast, huh?
Well, not in the long range. Certainly frosty tonight and again tomorrow night with those overnight lows. But have a look at this jet stream well to the north as we move through next week. And perhaps mid to late next week, starting to creep in with some of that more seasonal air.
All right, thanks for that, Ryan. Well, there has been a major incidence of double vision in southwestern Nigeria.
Scores of identical siblings turned out for the World Twins Festival. The annual festival celebrates all things twins. There's plenty of music and dance at the event that was marked by the small and the tall.
This region of Nigeria is known for having one of the highest birth rates of twin births in the world. The ethnic group that dominates in the area has at least one set of twins in every family.
You know about that, Tom.
I can relate, being a twin myself. That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.